Chicago. Welcome on in to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Lots to get to in the show here tonight. The NFL Combine is now behind us, which means free agency is right around the corner. How might things that went on last weekend affect what the Bears do next week when the legal tampering period opens? Will it change anything at all? Change any way at all of the Bears approach free agency and the draft? Or should they just look at those as two completely separate entities? Plus, are we going to see the return of a former Bears player? We will discuss that. The Blackhawks made a big move over the weekend that is going to pay some dividends, hopefully immediately. We will discuss the Seth Jones trade as well tonight. The Cubs are about a week away from leaving Arizona to go out to Japan to start the regular season. And the Sky are going to be taking residence at United Center for a couple of games this summer. All that plus more coming up right here, right now on Chi-Town Weekly. Do not go anywhere. Buckle on up. Let's have some fun. And hello and good evening, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Glad that you are here with us for the latest installment of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Glad that you are here with us. We got a lot to get through in the show here tonight. Of course, we're going to be talking Bears, going to be breaking down the NFL Combine, really what the Combine has turned into now, not just looking at draft prospects, but almost how it's become the NFL's equivalent of Major League Baseball's winter meetings, some of the other things that have been going on, some trades and breakdowns and free agency talk going on all during that. So we will discuss the Bears right off the bat. Then we'll get into some hockey as the Blackhawks made a trade over the weekend, sending Seth Jones and a draft pick to the Florida Panthers for Spencer Knight and a draft pick in return. And we're going to see some immediate dividends on that as Spencer Knight will be in the lineup tonight for the Hawks as they get ready to take on the Los Angeles Kings. So we'll get you caught up on that move. We'll check in on the Cubs out in Arizona for spring training as they are about a week away from leaving the country to go to Japan to take on the Dodgers for 2 games to start the MLB season. And the Chicago Sky are going to be playing a couple of games at United Center this summer. So we'll discuss that. Lots to get to in the show here tonight. But before we do anything, a quick word from our sponsors. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into the program here on IE Sports Radio. You have found your way into Chi-Town Weekly. I am your host, Adam Karnick. So glad that you are here with me, whether you're watching the show live over Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, or if you are one of the people listening in later on in the week as a podcast. Thank you for your support and your continued listening to the program. I really do appreciate it. Along with all those sponsors, there is one more that we want to mention in there. Raw Nutrition Supplements. We want to thank them as well. Go to getrawnutrition.com. Use the promo code IESR at checkout to get 10% off of your order. So along with Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, Vital Apparel, and of course, IE Sports Radio. Also go to getrawnutrition.com. We thank them for their sponsorship. This show is available for you on Twitter. We are at IESRC. You can also follow along with me personally. I am at Adam_Karnick. You can follow along with the show that way as well. Wanted to start things off tonight with the NFL Combine. It got done over the weekend. Everybody got together down in Indianapolis and watched all the young, hopeful NFL players go put them through their paces as they were tested and retested, medical drills, football knowledge, all the fun things. Little bit different for the Bears this year. For the first time in 3 years, going back to 2022, this was the first time the Bears have gone to the Combine without having the number 1 overall pick. So all eyes were not on Chicago for the first time in a while since Ryan Poles first took over as general manager. They're still operating with a top 10 pick. They're at number 10 overall, but a lot less chatter around the Bears this time, which is, kind of a welcome change after being the center of the NFL offseason universe each of the last 2 years. It's kind of nice to be able to just sit back and be one of the other teams. And especially being able to sit back knowing that you're not needing to get involved in the quarterback conversation, whether your team Cam Ward or your team Shedeur Sanders or your one of the other quarterback prospects. You'd love it if both of those guys go inside the top 10, which I still would expect that both of them will, if just for no other reason than that pushes some of the other guys like Will Campbell, like Abdul Carter, further down into the draft. And who knows, somebody might slip to the Bears. Now, Abdul Carter, I know you've got some injury concerns there, some worry about whether or not he's going to need surgery or not. That's where you've really got to be on the ball with your medical people and trusting what you're seeing from him, what you're getting from his agents, what you're getting from your people. But if you like the player, man, there's a great big fix for you at pass rusher, knowing that, you've got a quality talent there that might fall to 10. Will Campbell, the arm length I know is a concern as he came in at just under 33 inches in arm length. But everything else on him seemingly checks out. 33 inches is kind of the NFL minimum, if you will, for a tackle's arms. So maybe Will Campbell winds up bumping inside to guard, but man, everything else about him checks out so well. If he falls all the way down to number 10, boy, I think you have to take him if you're the Bears. But one thing that I'm kind of feeling now about the NFL Combine is less about the prospects, less about the individual players, more about just what the Combine has become anymore. It's really now, it is now NFL's version of the major league winter meetings, where the general managers and the decision makers all get together and start hashing out deals, start hashing out trades, and get a feel of who's going to be available where and when and how. Good evening, Mike Pat, checking in on Twitter. Good evening. If you are listening live to the show tonight, whether on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, drop us a comment, drop something in the chat. I'd love to say hello to everybody that is listening live. So feel free to do that. Or if you want to be shy, just sit back and listen. And I'm happy to entertain you that way. But at the same time, I love it if you drop a comment. So if you feel so inclined, drop something in there for us. Good evening, Mike. But really, the combine is really becoming the NFL the NFL winter meetings, really, as we heard the salary cap is going up in the NFL. We're seeing a bump there as it's now going up north of $275 million. It's north of, what was it, $260 million now is where the cap will be. We saw that Trey Smith is going to get the franchise tag from the Chiefs. Boy, what a massive shock there. I can't believe that Trey Smith is going to get shocked, is going to get tagged by the Chiefs. Hashtag sarcasm. I figured there was no way the Chiefs were going to let somebody like that go for just money. That it was, if a player is getting let go anymore in the NFL, it's for a reason. It is not simply a financial reason anymore. And a team like the Chiefs, they're well run, they're well organized, they know what they're doing. They can figure out, all they have to do is free up some money. They can figure out what to do to free up some money. But the Bears are indeed going to be looking at linemen, whether it's in the draft or free agency, or very possibly both. Ben Johnson brought that up in his opening press conference. He brought that up again in the combine when he spoke. He talked about how he feels it is possible to remake an entire offensive line in one offseason. Is Mike bringing up, the Bears have a plethora of good talent available to them in the top 10. If the Bears are the first ones to take an offensive lineman, Mike, I would be very surprised. I would also be thrilled if you're getting the top offensive lineman available in this class, because there are a lot of good offensive linemen, all really good guys there to be had. As then Mike starts listing off a few: Banks, Membow, Campbell, Booker. Yeah, lots of really, really good talented players. Oh, hi, Mom. She's in the chat also listening. Not shy, just liking to sit back and listen. Well, thank you. I know Mike is probably already putting together his mock draft. I'm going to wait about a week or two before I start really diving in and putting mine together. I want to see free agency a little bit first. I want to see where the legal tampering period, how that shakes out, who everybody addresses, where everybody goes. Ben Johnson brought up that he feels you can fix the offensive line in one offseason, that it is possible to do that. And he brought up the example of the Panthers last season that brought in multiple starting guards and that they really started to see dividends towards the back half of their season. And yes, Mike Pat has already started putting together his mock draft. He's already on version 2. I love that. Mike is always super prepared with anything draft related. He loves doing it. He and Larry do an awesome job every April breaking down and doing a mock draft show here on the network. I hope they're going to do it again this year. They were nice enough to let me do it, to let me sit in 1 year. I'd love to sit in with them again, given the opportunity. But at the same time, it's also a show that I love just sitting back and listening to as well, because they do a great job. And Mike is always really prepared with a good solid picks all the way around the board. So I'm not surprised at all to see that Mike is already on version 2. I personally like to wait until we get through free agency at least, because while every single team will say, oh, we're going to take the best player available, it's always amazing how their first round pick the best player available just happens to be at that team's biggest position of need. It's amazing how that always shakes out. So I do want to see how free agency plays out and what holes get filled all across the league, to see then where the biggest holes are to start filling in with the draft. For the Bears, it does feel like it's going to be on the offensive line all the way around. Ben Johnson brought it up. One thing about that, though, his comments there about the Panthers fixing their entire line in one season, he commented how you started to see the dividends in the second half of the season. And that's something that I want to kind of caution Bears fans as we're getting into this, that it's yes, you can address the line, but the offensive line takes time, no matter how you're building it, whether it's via free agency or via the draft. And I think there are arguments to be made for both, that the offensive line, more than any other position on a football team, is a unit. And part of what that entails is needing time together. You don't get a whole lot of that anymore in practice, because they just don't practice as much as they did 30, 40, 50 years ago, depending on whenever you first started watching football. They don't practice that much anymore. And we can argue about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is the reality of the situation. So they really don't get to start developing that cohesion until they're in game, until September rolls around. When you've got an experienced veteran offensive line, they can get back into that rhythm a lot faster. When you're building an offensive line like the Bears are going to be doing this offseason, it's going to take time. It's going to be towards the back half of the season, at the earliest, really, before you start seeing the dividends pay off with these new offensive line, with what could be as many as 4 new starters on the offensive line this season. I think it's a minimum going to be 3. And so I think you're going to see some free agent picks. The center out of Atlanta, I think, makes a lot of sense for the Bears. Ziegler out of Detroit makes a world of sense to me, because that's going to turn into not just filling a hole at the right guard position, but it's somebody that's coming from Detroit that knows Ben Johnson, that knows seemingly this offense, and will be able to help others understand what's going on and know how to respond and how to react and what the key points are and what the points of emphasis are going to be. So I know, even though Ziegler is going to be 34 years old and is going to be a more experienced veteran, that is somebody that I feel that the Bears should prioritize. I'm not saying you sign him for a 3, 4, 5-year deal, 1 or 2 years, and it's free agency. You have cap space. Splurge a little bit on this signing. I feel that Ziegler is somebody that is worth more to the Bears than other teams. You've got cap space. If you're Ryan Poles, you've got nearly $80 million in cap space available to you. Use some of that. Use some of that. Don't necessarily go crazy. Don't sign him for 3 years and $60 million or anything like that. But 2 years at $24 million, sure. Go ahead, do something like that. Is that more than probably another team is going to spend on him? Are you going to overspend? Probably. Is it going to be worth it for you? Absolutely. So that's somebody that I would absolutely attack. At the same time, I think you're going to see the offensive line be addressed by the Bears early in this draft. The Bears effectively have 3 picks in the top 40. They have 10, they have 39, and they have 41. Technically, I know it's only 2 in the top 40, but the third one's 41. It is close enough to 40 that you're going to get that level of talent. And with as deep as this draft is on both the offensive line and the defensive line, I want to see the Bears really address those positions with this draft. Good evening, Ralph Calise, and also to Marcus Losgrace. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. But that's where I hope to see the Bears with this class, with this draft, really target the line, but still do that in free agency as well. What you do at one shouldn't necessarily affect the other. You still need to address and shore up these spots. What you're going to be doing in free agency shouldn't necessarily be long-term solutions. They should be viewed as stopgaps, as, hey, we're going to plug up this hole for a year or two so that we can afford to spend a third or a fifth round pick on this spot instead of needing to spend a first round pick on this spot temporarily. But with the lines, the Bears have so many holes and needs on that. One last thought on free agency before we leave the Bears for this week. Khalil Mack is headed for free agency for the first time in his career. And he and his representation let it be known at the combine that he would be interested in re-signing with the Bears. He was somebody, of course, famously that Ryan Pace made the midnight hour trade for on the eve of the 2018 season. And then Ryan Poles sent him away to the Chargers, and that signaled the beginning of the tear down and rebuild for the Bears ahead of the 2022 season. He makes a lot of sense for the Bears. He's been healthy. He's been durable in his time with the Chargers. I'm going to pull up his stats with the Chargers. The last few seasons, the last 3 years with the Chargers. He had 8 sacks in 2022. He had 17 sacks in 2023, and he had 6 sacks this past season. He is durable. He's still out there. Each of the last 3 years with the Chargers, he's appeared in a minimum of 16 games every year. And in fact, each of his first 2 seasons with the Chargers, he appeared in all 17 games with 17 starts. He's still affecting the ball. He's forced 9 fumbles over the last 3 years. That 2023 season, he was a monster. Along with the 17 sacks, he had 5 forced fumbles. Reportedly, he's not necessarily looking to be a superstar with the Bears, but looking to be a rotation piece. The fan base would welcome him back with open arms. To me, it makes a lot of sense to welcome him back. Not necessarily a long deal. I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't say you sign him to 4, 5, 6 years or anything like that. But a 2 or 3 year deal, I'd be okay with that. That would be a lot of fun to have Khalil Mack back in the Navy and orange. We'll see what the Bears do. We know what Kyle Davidson, meanwhile, has been up to with the Blackhawks. He has been a busy guy working his own rebuild, and he made a big move over the weekend. We will discuss the Seth Jones for Spencer Knight trade next here on Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back after this.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode. And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Kernick back with you here on Chi-Town Weekly, and we are going to be talking some hockey next here on the show. You may have heard that last drop. My friend Zach and we talk hockey every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, bouncing all around the NHL world. We're going to be taking a look at both the Rangers and the Bruins tomorrow night, talking are either of those teams contenders or pretenders as we get ready to get into the crucial part of the NHL season. Unfortunately for the Blackhawks this season, we know that this season is lost. They are absolutely not contending for anything in 2025, that they are still unfortunately a long way off from real contention in the NHL, but they may have gotten a serious step closer over the weekend. The Blackhawks over the last couple weeks, as we've been getting closer to the NHL trade deadline, Seth Jones's name has come up quite a bit. The Blackhawks basically made it known that they were looking to move off of him. They were not getting anywhere near the return for Jones that his contract would have stipulated, would have merited, at nearly 8 or 9 million a season over 8 years. They just weren't getting the production out of him that they would have liked. You don't often see a guy only 3 years into an 8-year deal get moved, but they needed to do it. He had a full no movement clause, and he made it known to the Blackhawks that there were really only 2 teams that he was interested in going to, the Stars and the Panthers. The Stars weren't necessarily interested in acquiring him, so that left the Panthers. Jones, meanwhile, was publicly making it a little easier for the Blackhawks to move him. He started being a bit more vocal in his comments about the team and his frustrations in Chicago, how things hadn't changed in his time here. And he wasn't happy with the direction and how they just can't seem to figure things out. Again, both sides were ready to move on. And Kyle Davidson pulled off what appears on paper to be a stellar trade for the Hawks. The trade is Seth Jones and a 4th-round selection in 2026 going to the Florida Panthers in return for goalie Spencer Knight and a conditional 1st-round pick. What I was reading on the conditions on the pick are, it will be a 1st-rounder. It's simply a question of what year. Will it be in 2026 or in 2027? The Panthers reserve the right to, if they can work out what they feel is a better deal for themselves in 2026, then it will turn into a 1st-round pick in 2027. I've never really heard of that before, so I'm definitely going to do some more reading and some more following up and try to get some more clarification on that. But that's what the initial reports were, is that it is a 1st-round pick. It's just a question of in what draft. Will it be in 26 or 27? Either way, it's a 1st-round pick. And it is a tremendous young goalie that the Blackhawks are getting. And it's going to immediately pay dividends as the Blackhawks are getting ready to drop the puck right now at United Center. I believe they have dropped the puck already in Chicago. Yes, they are 4.5 minutes underway against the Kings. And Spencer Knight is in net tonight for the Blackhawks. He's still wearing his Florida Panthers helmet. He'll have to get a new helmet with some new branding and some new paint on it. But he is in net tonight for the Hawks. He's already 4 for 4 on save attempts. So the Blackhawks getting a chance to look at their immediate dividends on this Seth Jones trade. And so I thought it would be appropriate to kind of get to know Spencer Knight, the player, a little bit. Spencer was a 1st-round draft pick of the Florida Panthers. He was the 13th overall selection in 2019. He was, at the time, it looked like he was going to be the goalie of the future for the Panthers. Then a week and a half later, they signed Sergei Bobrovsky, and it goes from there. But it's still, Knight has had He already has a ton of NHL experience for as young as he is. He's only 23 years old at this point. Knight, with all that experience, though, he has not been a part he's not been any part of Florida's 2 Stanley Cup Finals runs with the Panthers, and we'll get into that here in just a second, but he had been with the organization since 2019. Collegiately, he was the Hockey East Player of the Year in 2021. He was a finalist for effectively the best overall college hockey player, the Hobey Baker Award. He made his NHL debut at the tail end of the 2021 season. He made 4 starts with the Panthers and he won all 4 of his starts off record with the Panthers. And then he didn't go to the minors. He went straight to the NHL after finishing college, after finishing his time collegiately. That is not something that you'll see skaters do that. You'll see, Patrick Kane came straight to the NHL. Jonathan Taves came straight to the NHL. Now, a little bit different. Connor Bedard, a little bit different circumstances with Bedard versus Bedard and Taves versus Kane. But the point being, going straight from junior level hockey straight to the NHL, not spending time in the minors. Didn't have the greatest of starts then once he was full time in the NHL, and he actually was granted a leave of absence from the team for a little while he dealt with OCD. It was affecting his play in net, and he felt that taking some time away from the game while he learned how to deal with that would make him a better netminder. That's part of why he wasn't part of the Panthers' 2 Stanley Cup Finals runs. He was on basically a medical leave of absence at the time. When he came back, Florida sent him to Charlotte, its AHL affiliate. He was tremendous last season in Charlotte. Was 25, 14, and 5 overall. He came back up to the big club this season, and he has played well in a relatively limited role, but he's still playing very, very, very good hockey. And I would expect what you'll see from him I expect that we will see a lot of him the rest of this season for the Hawks. I would expect, I wouldn't be shocked at this point if they look at moving Peter Mrazek, as we've got a little bit of time yet before the trade deadline, and you wind up with a common net mining pairing then of Knight and Soderblom winding up be the 2 guys. Soderblom is a pending free agent. Now he's going to be a restricted free agent. So the Blackhawks will have the opportunity to match any deal that he gets. But you could see, depending on how Knight plays the rest of the way, you could see the Hawks potentially be willing to move on from Soderblom or Peter Mrazek, or maybe both. Maybe that's the play. Maybe that's what they decide to do, is hold on to both for the, and have 3 goalies that you're rotating between for the rest of the season. Primarily Knight and Soderblom with a little bit of Mrazek here and there just to keep him loose and keep him engaged. maybe use Mrazek on the second half of a back-to-back, maybe. That kind of thinking, that kind of play. But Spencer Knight this season, he's had some excellent numbers for the Panthers in his time. His time this season, he is 12-8-1, a 2.4 goals against average this season. He's made 23 starts. He's got a save percentage of .907. He's played very, very well. This is a tremendous deal by Kyle Davidson and the Blackhawks at this point. Knight is only 23. He has not hit his ceiling yet. This is a terrific move, especially for a defenseman that was frankly overpaid. And you had made it known, and he had made it known, that both parties were ready to move on. To be able to get a deal like this. Now, Florida is absolutely looking to make a championship run here, and they're hoping that Seth Jones can help be a final piece for that, trying to help out that defense. We'll see. Early returns, though, I would say the Blackhawks absolutely got the better end of this deal. We'll see how the game goes tonight. They're currently in, I believe they are in the first media timeout. Yeah, with 12:05 left to go. With they've come back to play. The Hawks are on the power play right now, but no score in Chicago against the Kings. We'll see how Spencer Knight does, but I love this signing and I love this move for the Hawks. All right, we're going to take one more quick break. And then when we return, we're going to head out to Arizona and check on the Cubs as they are continuing their spring training and getting ready to head out to Japan. And the Sky had a big announcement over the weekend as well. They are going to be changing venues for a couple of games this summer. We will talk about that next here on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap with the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. Yes, this is the Extra Mile with me and my co-hosts Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward. We talk everything racing from NASCAR to IndyCar to Formula One to limited hydroplanes, endurance racing, the NHRA, and more. So come join us for an hour of great racing talk and a lot of fun as well on the Extra Mile, Thursdays at 8 p.m. only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Lentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick with you here for a few more minutes here yet tonight. We have talked Bears, we have talked Blackhawks. Now let's head out and let's talk some baseball, shall we? Spring training in Arizona. The Cubs are yet in camp only for about another week or so. I believe it's a week from tomorrow. The Cubs will be getting on the plane and flying out to Japan, as they will be taking in the sights, playing some exhibition games against some of the Japanese teams, and then, of course, playing against the Los Angeles Dodgers in the first 2 games of the Major League Baseball regular season before they then come back stateside and actually go back to spring training and play some games that won't count again. And they may have an extra piece that they weren't expecting. Matt Shaw, the heralded young rookie who is expected to be the everyday third baseman for the Cubs this season. He's been dealing with an oblique strain. He made his spring training debut over the weekend. He went 0 for 3 from the plate. He's got things that he needs to work on still from both an offensive and a defensive standpoint. Craig Counsell did say that he's not going to he's not going to use Shaw in back-to-back days just yet. He wants to give him some time to continue to heal, continue to get himself worked up into baseball shape and into game shape. But they haven't ruled Japan off the table yet for Shaw. A week ago, it looked like for sure Matt Shaw was going to be missing that trip, and he was going to be staying stateside with several other members of the Cubs and just continuing to get work in and get ready for the 160 games that the Cubs will be playing here stateside starting in just a few weeks. It is very odd to me that Major League Baseball is having the Cubs and Dodgers do this, where these 2 games will count. Then they come back stateside and they have to restart training camp for almost a week before then the regular season actually starts up. That is very strange to me that they chose to do it that way. I would think you just have that be the start of the regular season, then fly back and go to wherever you're starting the season and just play the regular season. Don't start camp back up. But what can I say? Major League Baseball is weird and strange and does not always do things the most obvious and logical way. What can I say there? But it is very exciting to see that Matt Shaw is out there. I'd still put it as more likely than not that he doesn't go to Japan. But the fact that we're a week away from them leaving and they haven't ruled it out yet is encouraging. We'll see how it goes. The Cubs, they did finally lose. They lost to the Diamondbacks earlier this afternoon, 10-2. Okay. Oh, well, so they're not going to go perfect in spring training. Darn. But I would expect that Shaw would be back out there in the lineup tomorrow. We'll see how he does there, how he plays, how he reacts, how things go. And maybe we'll have some further updates and some further thoughts and clarity there from Counsell and the Cubs. One thing we do know that's going to be happening this summer in Chicago, the Chicago Sky, for the first time ever, are going to be playing regular season games at the United Center this summer. Not their entire schedule, not the whole thing. There's still Wintrust Arena is still going to be the primary home for Angel Reese and the Sky this season, but they will play 2 games this year at United Center, the 2 home games against the Indiana Fever. It was announced late last week that both home games against Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are being moved from Wintrust Arena over to United Center. Season ticket holders for the Sky, of course, will have first crack at the tickets, and they're going to be, the team announced that those tickets are going to be as similar as possible to the seats that they have at Wintrust Arena. So I'm sure they're referring to, proximity to the court, where they are, how many rows back, how close to center court or the benches, or, wherever it is, they'll try to have that be as similar. But United Center is roughly double the size of Wintrust Arena. So obviously these are huge games for any WNBA team. The Fever basically set attendance records everywhere they went last season. The Caitlin Clark effect is very real. And we saw between the Sky and the Fever that this is becoming a rivalry, absolutely, between these 2 teams, as Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark renewed their rivalry from their college days. It picked right up there on that. So this has the potential. These games have the potential to be the most attended Sky games in their franchise history. So good on the Sky, good on United Center, good on the Reinsdorf and Wirtz families for making this happen and working this out. These should be some excellent basketball, and there should be a lot of people there. A lot of people in attendance for those games. Heck, I might take a look and see if it'd be possible to take my daughter and have her experience some of that. That could be quite the experience there. So kudos to everybody involved there and making that happen. And they did mention in the press release that they hope to make this be an annual thing and not just reserve it only for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, that looking at potentially having some other games get moved to United Center and having 1 or 2 games every year played at United Center to just have the larger capacity crowd, anything to help the sport and help the team out. It's a great notion. Thanks to Taryn chiming into the chat room real quick, bring up that, the Battle of Chicago last week went to Lewis men's volleyball. The number 15 Flyers beat number 7 Loyola 3-1 in 3 out of 4 sets. So Taryn keeping us involved in the volleyball conversation. Thank you for that, Taryn. Taryn, of course, the host of Set Point. He was on earlier today breaking down everything in the world of volleyball. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Big shout out and thank yous all the way around. Thank you, of course, to all of our sponsors here at IE Sports Radio. Planet Jerky Premium Brisket, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Go to planetjerky.net to place your order. They're still offering free shipping on all orders of $50 and above. Thank you to Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. When you go to vitalapparel.com, use the promo code IESR at checkout to get 15% off of your order. As long as you're getting new workout equipment, new workout gear, go to getrawnutrition.com. Get yourself some nutrition supplements as well, and we can save you some money there as well. Use the promo code IESR at checkout. Save 10% off of your order there. Thank you also as well to Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Please go to iesportsradio.com/Seal Wax Seals to place your order there. Thank you also to Larry B, star and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio. Thank you for all the hard work you put in behind the scenes crew. Appreciate that. Thank you to everybody that was hanging out in the chat room with us tonight. Mike Pat, Ralph Felice, Marcus Postrate, and Karen Rodriguez. Thank you all. Finally, thank you to everybody that was watching live across the Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. All 134 of you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And to everybody listening live to the playback, whether that was on Spreaker or Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, thank you for listening as well. Not going to be live next week, unfortunately. I am going to be out of town and not able to do a live show. So I'm working on seeing if I can put something together to have played, but it will not be live. We will be back live 2 weeks from tonight. We will be breaking down the NCAA bracket, seeing where the Illinois schools wound up, where Illinois wound up, seeing who else made it in, see if Loyola made it in, and we'll have NFL free agents to break down and discuss. We'll see you then. Until then, be safe, be good. We'll see you next time.